So some of you know, and we share and have a good chuckle from time to time about me being an early bird. There's some other early birds here. I'm just better in the mornings. And I should tell you that Tuesday mornings are my favorite mornings. They fall after my Sabbath day on Monday, and I get so much joy out of waking up really, really early on Tuesdays. I usually rise when it's still dark, and I make my coffee when everyone in my family is still sleeping and the house is so quiet. And I make it a habit of sitting outside on the parsonage porch, no matter the weather, and just breathe and say, I am here, and try my best to welcome in the week. And a practice I learned from the late Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh is to recite part of a short mindfulness verse that goes, waking up this morning, I smile. 24 brand new hours are before me. Thich Nhat Hanh says, what better way to start the day than with a gentle smile? Your smile, he writes, affirms your awareness and determination to live in peace and joy. So he says, look deeply and smile. So now you have a picture in your mind of your well-rested minister sitting on her porch under the morning stars, all blissed out and smiling, right? And sometimes I am this. I'm often this. And sometimes I am not. I do this practice for a reason, my friends, because I need it. A dear friend of mine once said to me that her joy was hard-earned. And I love that. Me too. It is hard-earned, and it's something I have to work at cultivating every day in some way, against all odds. And as with any spiritual practice worth its weight, it demands consistency and it demands discipline. So this is where I tell you that I come from a long, long line of expert problematizers. I made that word up. It just sat there in this sermon with that red squiggly line under it, and I just didn't care. I wasn't going to change it. It's problematizers. That's my new word, Oxford Dictionary. I don't know one family member on any side of my family tree who isn't, bless their hearts, an Eeyore or a piglet. So by some chuckles, I'm assuming I have some Winnie the Pooh fans in the house. But for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, I come from a people who lived their lives more or less waiting for the other shoe to drop. That was a favorite line of my grandmother's. And who were masterful, truly masterful, at preparing themselves at all times for the absolute worst. Gloom and doom, those are the Eeyores, and feverishly anxious, those are the piglets, or a winning combination of both. And my dear ancestors spent their days toiling over the state of their lives and the state of the world and knocking on wood when good news or any overt expression of contentment or joy were proclaimed for fear of jinxing things. Don't tempt fate, they would say. Don't tempt fate, Sophia. Knock on wood. I am trying to undo this knot. K-N-O-T. K-N-O-T. Trying to change the legacy here because we get to change legacies. We do get to do that. And this is hard stuff because we live in and have inherited a world where joylessness and doom, waiting for the other shoe to drop, is a commonplace orientation to most everything. Our culture is steeped in it. It is. And this is why we need wise ones to teach us about perspective, like Thich Nhat Hanh and his healing practice of simply, radically smiling. Or His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. I dropped the ball this morning and left their book at home because I was gonna pull it out and hold it up for you. The Book of Joy, which is what I've centered this sermon around. I'd planned to hold it up for you so that you could see them on the cover facing each other, laughing. Some of you might have seen the cover, just laughing. The Book of Joy, it is called. It's a book to order or pick up from the library. They write in the introduction, to celebrate one of our special birthdays, we met for a week in Dharamsala in 2016 to enjoy our friendship and to create something that we hope will be a birthday gift for others. So much of life, they say, is spent in sadness, stress, and suffering. Yet, no dark fate determines the future. We do. Each day and each moment, we are able to create and recreate our lives and the very quality of human life on our planet. This is the power we wield, they write. It's like getting into a hot bath. No dark fate determines the future. We do. We get to alter the legacy. And this book spends a few hundred pages documenting a conversation between these two spiritual leaders. These are deeply religious men with completely different theologies, right? A theist and a non-theist, and yet are united in the healing, courageous, salvific power of joy. Let me get some water. This is a good time to pause because I think I know what many of you are thinking. These are men who also know suffering. These are people who have lived it and whose people live it. So these are the kind of people I need to teach me about joy, right? Yeah. So what is joy exactly? What is it? Joy is not just about having more fun. And it's not about feeling happier. Happiness is about an external thing in our present environment that brings us a momentary feeling of elation. That's what happiness is. And happiness is all about me. I feel happy when they have my favorite mint chocolate chip ice cream at the store. And this is real. I feel happy. Joy, however, joy is a spiritual state of mind and being. Joy transcends the self. Joy spreads itself out to the world and sees the wholeness of the thing. Perspective, the wholeness of the thing. Joy is not dependent on anyone or anything. It's not dependent on my ice cream being in stock or not. And joy, according to Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama, is made up by 3 simple ingredients: love, compassion, generosity. Love of self and love of all living beings equals joy. Compassion for self and compassion for all living beings, joy. Generosity towards self and all living beings equals joy. All of this, they say, weaves together a life that feels meaningful and connected. And a life rich with meaning and connection is a life rich with joy. And we don't practice all of this to just create joy for ourselves. Remember, joy transcends the self and makes of us, these are Archbishop Tutu's words, a reservoir of joy, an oasis of peace that can ripple out and out and out to all those around us. Yes, joy is contagious. And the Archbishop also says, this is important, discovering joy does not save us from the inevitability of hardship and heartbreak. In fact, he says, we may cry more easily, but we will laugh more easily too. Perhaps we are just more alive. Yet as we discover more joy, he says, we can face suffering in a way that ennobles rather than embitters. We have hardship without becoming hard. We have heartbreak without being broken. So joy keeps us from becoming brittle in spirit. Brittle in spirit. We can feel happiness, but be so very brittle in spirit. Not so with joy. And some of you will ask, how in the world, Reverend Sophia, can we afford to be joyful? The world is on fire. It's our duty and what our Unitarian-Universalist faith calls us towards, to be enraged, outraged, embittered. No, some of you might say, no. Joy is the luxury of privileged, apathetic, neutral people. And I hear you. And I want to caution us all, myself included, for I do not preach from a pulpit on high. I want to caution us all against giving up our right to joy in the name of engagement with the news of the day or doing the work of justice. I want to caution us all against settling for crumbs in the name of being a good citizen. Let us take care to not trample or trade our joy away. For we cannot do good work in the world without it. We can't. And I hope you hear me when I say that. Interestingly, despair and hopelessness, brittleness of spirit, they don't turn us outwards. They turn us inwards. They don't place us in the hands of each other. They collapse us, right? We know that feeling. You can feel it. Whereas love and compassion and generosity, hope and joy, these things send us into the arms of others. And these are the Archbishop Tutu's words. So Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, the Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, Maya Angelou, Cornel West, Thich Nhat Hanh, the Dalai Lama, Jesus, Desmond Tutu, all of these wise spiritual leaders teach us that love and compassion, generosity, hope, joy, these are the things that in the end will save us, heal us, transcend us. And they all require faith in a moral and good universe whose arc is long and always bends towards justice. That's faith. Forever teaching us to not fear tempting fate, but rather to believe in human beings' goodness being the powerful stuff that will shape it. This is the power we wield. We wield it. And I lean on the Great Spirit that I call God. I hope you will translate that word for yourselves this morning, that I call God to guide me in this deep and faithful and joyful knowing. The Dalai Lama says that yes, there are many things that can depress us, but there are also very many things that are fantastic about our world. Unfortunately, the media do not report on these because they aren't seen as news. And it's easy to feel like our basic human nature is to kill and be corrupt. But we must keep a more holistic view, the Dalai Lama says. We must have a sense of proportion and wider perspective. Not rose-colored glasses or head in the sand thinking, but proportion. Meditate on this. There are billions of people in this world being generous and kind and loving to one another right now. Billions. Can you allow this to not erase the bad news, but just sit there next to it like our joy and sorrows candles? Just sit there together. Can you courageously, that's our theme this month, invite yourself to experience joy at the thought of this? The reason this is hard and tricky is because we have become habituated to despair, all of us. It's our default setting. And we have settled for crumbs when joy is meant to be a fully nourishing meal. And I want you to think about this question over the coming weeks. Why have we settled for so little? There's a lot of history in the answer. A lot of oppressive systems at work in that answer. A lot of religious doctrine that many of us were raised up with that has been twisted, abused, and defiled in this query. Why have we settled for crumbs? And there's a lot about our families and our ancestors, what they put in place to survive as the oppressed and the oppressor. In this waiting for the other shoe to drop thinking. And understanding that in this question, why have we settled for so little? And in the daily and radical act of choosing joy, we do not shut the door on any of this, we open it. Understanding that choosing joy thrusts us into the arms of one another, even the stranger or our enemies. and makes of us oases of peace that ripple out to all of those around us. And understanding in this question and in choosing joy, it is about courageously saying, yes, I choose hope. And I will not, in the words of Martin Luther King Jr., I will not bow before the altar of hate and condemnation and hopelessness and retaliation anymore. I choose hope. I choose love. I choose faith. I choose joy. And I'm going to keep on till I find it. As in the words of our sorrow song, in the worst of horror, I'm going to keep on till I find it. Yes. And so before we sing with joy and sorrow, the all of it, and gusto, joyful, joyful, we adore thee. Before we do this, let's listen to the words of our poet again. Allow this to be our closing prayer. That's my hope. One that I also hope you will carry out with you today for yourself as a generous gift to yourself and a gift to your fellows. Don't hesitate. Mary Oliver. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give into it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or are about to be. We are not wise and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is its way of fighting back, as sometimes something happens better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb. Joy is not made to be a crumb. And so I say to you, amen. May it be so.